Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon, not here with Geeky Sparkles in this video, but we're going to talk about The Gamer. You know, the website, the activist website pretending to be a legit video game news source. We're going to talk about one of their hot takes now that Cammy from Street Fighter, that her classic outfit should not have been brought back, that Capcom needed to move beyond the 90s and stop sexualizing its female characters. This is also the same website that said, hey, Street Fighter 6 on easy mode is awesome because most of us suck at fighting games. So I'm going to talk about this because Street Fighter 2 was one of the first games that I chose to get good at. And I practiced a lot at Street Fighter 2, and I was far from the best Street Fighter 2 player out there, but I was pretty okay. You know, but I put a lot of time into that game, and you know, it's funny to see a gaming news site be like, yeah, most of us suck at fighting games. I'm like, bitch, please. Most of us who grew up gaming in the 80s and 90s cut our teeth on one-on-one fighting games. Yeah, particularly Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat. I'm just saying, it was kind of a rite of passage. Like you had to have some skills at one of these games, preferably more than one of these games, to be considered a legit gamer back in the day. But I digress. We're going to talk about this. This is funny because it is coming from Stacey Henley, the editor of The Gamer. Now, this is the same Stacey Henley that ran at the mouth on a BBC podcast or radio episode, and actually was debating with a clownfishtv.com writer, you know, Jake James Lugo, and had to apologize. Apparently the BBC had to apologize on behalf of Stacey Henley to J.K. Rowling for defaming her. Some of the stuff that was said was considered defamatory. Now, I know that defamation overseas, it's a lot easier to defame someone than it is here in the States, I've heard. But still, they felt that they needed to apologize to J.K. Rowling. Henley, of course, was very angry about the existence of Hogwarts Legacy, and The Gamer infamously gave the game a 1 out of 10, I think. I think it was The Gamer. So, yeah, we're gonna talk about this latest attempt at doing a gaming journalism, this hot take. And I really feel like The Gamer knows it's on borrowed time. Like, I think they know they're eventually going to shut this site down because so many other websites in the vein of The Gamer have been shut down. And I know what the ad rates are, and they're not good. And I can't think that game studios are lining up to throw money at a website that is basically telling people not to buy one of the most popular games of the year. You know, I mean, any more than Nintendo's going to be throwing money at Kotaku. I can't imagine Capcom's going to be throwing buckets of money at them either and being like, what the hell is your problem? What is your problem? I've got theories, but I'm not going to voice those opinions in this video. But let's talk about this. So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. You'll get a woohoo. My woohoos are not as good as Geeky's woohoos. You know, Geeky is sitting this video out. She did have dental surgery, so she's not 100% yet as far as talking goes. And this might be a bit of a sore subject. How not to win a girl. So when we were dating in our 20s, Geeky loved playing as Cammy. For those of you who don't know, that's actually her name, right? So she played as her namesake, and I thought I'd be Mr. Cool, and I would play Street Fighter with my girlfriend. I did not realize that it wasn't cool to beat your girl at Street Fighter repeatedly and laugh at her. Don't do that. Don't do that. I almost didn't get married over Street Fighter. Anyway, yeah, so I played a lot of Street Fighter when I was younger. I actually used to hustle kids for quarters. Again, I am by no means a master at Street Fighter. It is one of those games that you've got people that are just ungodly good at it, but I was pretty okay. Cammy is an iconic character. She was introduced in Super Street Fighter. She was the second female character to be added to the roster. She has a very iconic look. And you can say it's overly sexualized or whatever you want to say about it, but it is an iconic look. She is an iconic video game character. I do not recognize this character. This looks like just some generic character. Actually, I'm looking at most of the roster of Street Fighter 6, and I got to be honest, they look very generic to me. Pretty much every Street Fighter 2 character, and even Street Fighter 3, you know, the alpha characters even, they all had very distinctive styles. They're all very iconic. And, you know, these are the kinds of characters that you could look at them, you know, like they say, look at them in silhouette and be able to tell who it is. And I can't with the Street Fighter 6 character. Sorry, Capcom, I can't. But yeah, Stacey Henley, trans activist Stacey Henley, complaining that Cammy is too sexual now, that they were making good progress by making her less sexy, and now they're regressing. Because here's what happened. I guess this is just an alternate costume, but this article was from a couple hours ago. Street Fighter fans are being totally normal about Cammy's classic outfit. They're posting not safe for work images. Capcom, well, if Capcom choosing to evolve its character design and not sexualize one of its characters bothered you, then worry no more as her alternative design brings back the classic costume. And as you'd expect, Street Fighter fans are being totally normal about that fact and definitely aren't drooling over her on the Street Fighter subreddit. Wait, I'm sorry. They totally are. They totally are. You're all gawking at her design. They were advancing the game and making her less sexy, and then you chuds came along. So this is just an opinion piece by the editor of The Gamer, an activist site pretending to be a gaming news site. And according to Stacey, it's not an ooh, hot outfits on hot women take. Stacey says she's not against hot women looking hot. Part of the reason I died so much in Hades was to meet Megira so often. And when Electo showed up, I went all Tex Avery. Very much approve of hot women looking hot. The problem is Cammy looks stupid. No, she doesn't. She looks like she could kick your ass. This outfit has always been kind of weird, but the extra details in Street Fighter 6, the solidification of the cartoonish realism the art style aims for, and the game's penchant for dramatic low angles all combine here to make it appear ridiculous. While her new outfit is cool and fresh, it doesn't look like her at all. I'm sorry, it doesn't. The return of the classic look is extremely dorky. So dorky, in fact, it comes with a built-in wedgie, and she didn't even need to remind the teacher to assign homework. It's quite the achievement. Cammy has a washboard stomach and powerful thighs and still manages to make showing her ass off seem like absolute loser behavior. The fabric disappears into a dark void between her cheeks and the front where a thin strip of tight fabric barely covers her crotch. It's no better. It just doesn't work in live action. This is like, I remember when the first Transformers movie came out. I remember very well because I got into a fight with one of the producers on it over Megatron's design. I'm like, this is not Megatron. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at, but it's not Megatron. They kept telling us that G1 characters would not work in live action. There was absolutely no way. They would look stupid. They would look cartoonish and dumb and blocky and ridiculous. Fast forward to Bumblebee. And Optimus Prime looked fan-frickin-tastic. Now, he still looks good in the Beast Wars movie, Rise of the Beasts, you know, but I don't have a lot of hope for that movie. But at least Optimus Prime looks like Optimus Prime. He is his G1 self, and he works in live action. It's totally possible. We're just nitpicking. Cammy's win pose has her put her arm behind her back in a threatening pose as if tensing her fist ready to strike. However, having seen it with the new outfit, it's clear that its true purpose is to just cover her butthole. There's a whole article about this. If your outfit choices require you to make conscious decisions about your movements in order to avoid exposing your butthole, you're wearing the wrong outfit. Is this parody? You cannot be serious. Is this article just written because the AI said this would get hits? I'm reading it to you, so you don't have to go to the gamer. You don't have to give them ad revenue. I'm not giving them ad revenue. I have the ad blocker on. They were begging me to turn the ad blocker off, but I said, nah, I don't think so. I'm going to keep the ad blocker on because I don't think you guys should get paid for this. You can go beg for some direct ad sales like every other website has to. You can go beg for subscribers like every other website has to now. You're not getting any more banner ad revenue. Sorry. Once upon a time, I can see how this would have been an attractive look for Cammy back before we could see everything. A tight leotard and bare legs was a good fit for her military origins while offering more sex appeal than a frumpy soldier uniform. But now that we can see so much more of it, it's clear that the outfit doesn't work. It's only back for raw fan service and no longer has a place in Street Fighter 6, the game that's not for fans. I really have doubts about, the more I'm reading about 6 now, I know some people that played it, they said it's actually pretty good. But I've heard things too. I'm like, I don't know if I'm on board with this one, but we'll see. Perhaps I shouldn't care so much about an optional additional costume, but the thing is, I don't care so much. I just think it's stupid. Then why'd you write a whole article about it? I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. If anything, it's a relief. Seeing the classic outfit in Street Fighter 6 is the perfect reminder of why the game needed to evolve in the first place. If it takes Cammy having a massive wedgie for holdouts to realize the game needed to move forward with fresh looks, maybe it will all be worth it. I'm sorry, none of the designs I've seen from Street Fighter 6 look iconic. They don't. Everybody looks like they're going to a rave. So this is interesting. This was published a couple of days ago, and I've heard this. I've heard it's basically, not the hardest game out there. They said Street Fighter V was a lesson for Capcom. It was the last game before the publisher entered a period that may consider its renaissance. They're talking about Resident Evil 7, Monster Hunter World, Devil May Cry, etc., etc. Street Fighter V was an outright failure. Yeah, 4 was pretty good. I thought 4 was pretty good. It didn't sell especially well and launched with awkward monetization. That was stupid. And severely lacked modes and features which to hardcore and casual fans felt unfinished. Capcom also knew it wasn't good enough and spent the next several years both issuing massive updates and charging for additional characters and content. Again, that was stupid. The whole situation was gross. And little effort was made to save face once the damage was done. That's a crying shame. Since right now the game we have is more than serviceable. It's just a bummer it took so long. Street Fighter is daunting, and as someone who's been on the periphery of the space for years, I felt turned away from learning a game that doesn't care for the experience of fresh-faced amateurs with little interest in mastering characters and combos. Get good. No, I'm sorry. I really don't have a lot of empathy, and I'm going to tell you why. Because back in the day, you had to practice, and you usually had to practice against other players because the Street Fighter machines were always packed. There was like a freaking line. Like our arcade had like 4 or 5 Street Fighter 2 machines, and they were all full, like all the time. Unless you go like in the middle of an afternoon on a Tuesday, like if you would cut class and go to the arcade, not that I have experience doing that often. Well, maybe I did. What I'm saying is you would have to fight for a place to learn to play the game, and you'd have to spend lots of money to learn to play the game. And everybody lined their quarters up for their place in line. Sometimes you would basically, whoever won, they got the quarters. That's just how it worked, right? And it was competitive. The whole thing was competitive. Like you're competing against other players, but you're also competing for a space, and kids were having their own tournaments and shit right in the arcade. And you would drop $20 to get your ass kicked by some 10-year-old Korean kid. Again, not that I have a lot of experience. Maybe I do. You know what I'm saying? So you really had to earn it. You had to get good. This was like the first like really competitive. I could say that Street Fighter 2 was probably the first like esport that I could think of that was like highly competitive. And there were lots of microtransactions. We paid quarters, right? And you had to pay to get good. And you had to pay your dues. And then the console versions came out, and then, the barrier to entry wasn't as high. You still had to go buy the game or whatever. And it didn't play quite like the arcade. It was pretty close, but not exactly. But still, you could at least practice at home. And you didn't have that luxury for like the first year or two, that these games are out. And so I'm sorry, I don't have, this is just like with a lot of the people that come into like any space. I don't want to learn I don't want to learn. I don't want to waste all that. I just want to cut corners and just, let me into your space. I don't want to pay my dues. We all had to pay our dues to get good. You should have to pay your dues, but probably not Street Fighter 5. Whatever. Play one of the other ones. But yeah, so they're talking about how the tutorials, I guess, are easier and everything is. God, the world's of side quests. What the hell? I don't know. I just think there's a lot of whining about how inaccessible harder games are. Capcom's been doing this lately. I mean, they did it with Ghosts and Goblins too, or Ghouls and Ghosts. Ghosts and Goblins or Ghouls? I don't know. Whatever the new one was they had out a couple of years ago that they had like an easy mode for. And that was part of the charm of Ghosts and Goblins was it was effing ridiculous. And if you could beat it, you had bragging rights. Like nobody wants to learn to play these games anymore. They just want to bitch and moan and then pass themselves off as gaming journos. What the hell? Anyway, another hot take from the gamer. Enjoy it. I don't think they're going to be around much longer. I think their parent company is going to wind up pulling the plug, especially with their editor-in-chief running at the mouth like she's been and having to publicly apologize. Publicly, can you imagine? I can't think of any other editor of any video game site that's warranted the BBC having to apologize on their behalf for their behavior. That's not a good look. That really isn't a good look. But I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Sorry, I yelled loudly.
That's okay. I got the limiter on.
Okay. So
you can tell my kick
setting.
Yeah, you can
Wait,
tell.
really? It automatically limits it when I yell?
It does. When the pitch gets too high, it does. Sometimes if you sound like all robotic, it's because it's bringing the decibels down.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.